I don't normally do a Halloween special here on Crazy Fabrications because if I do something, I want to go big, and there has to be something worthy of going big. And this year, I was inspired by this little pumpkin that I want to make great big. This is the Death Star pumpkin by Galactic Armory. When I purchased this, it was only $1 on their website, and I absolutely love this pumpkin. It looks fantastic. It looks great if you put a tea light in it. This, I think, is about 50% scale what it comes at. But as I was saying, I want to go big, and you guys probably saw it. This is my T500 from Comgrow. This is a 500 cubic millimeter printer, and it is just ginormous, and I want to see if it can print this, I guess larger than life, because this is going to be a really big pumpkin. So in order to get this printer ready to go though, it needed a little bit of work. If you saw it on some of my social medias, after my second print, here's the original build plate it came with, and after my second print, I tore a hole in this build plate. So yeah, straight out of the gate, just like over at, was it Aurora? They also tore a hole right in the middle of this print bed. If you print something too small to just peel off, their build surface has a real problem with oversticking, and you can just tear it up. And so that's what happened here. Immediately tore a big hole in this, and so now I can't print in the center of this. So that wasn't going to work. So I did contact my Comgrow representative and told them, hey, there's a hole in this build plate. Can you send me a new one? And so on here right now, you'll see I do have a new one on here. As far as I can tell, it's the same material, same build plate. Keep telling them they need to do a coated build plate, but this is what we have for now. Just like Aurora found, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to slather this whole thing in glue stick, because that does seem to put a protective layer down to keep it from sticking to the build plate and tearing a hole in it. Although I think it's probably going to be less of an issue if you print something really big, and that peeling effect will work on it. Second of all, if you saw the live stream for this, I did have some problems with the bed heating once. During the live stream, I was able to fix that just by simply rebooting the printer, and it came alive, and I had no further issues. But just as I was going to print this today, you will notice, well, the lid is off of this machine, and I wasn't able to actually get the build plate heating again. I had to take it apart. Did a lot of multimeter work to figure out what exactly was going on, and I did find out that it was the build plate MOSFET, which is this piece right here. I'm going to get in tight so you can see what I've done. Again, used multimeter, figured out that that's what was going on. All the signaling and everything was okay on here, but the signal was not actually enabling this MOSFET. If you're not familiar with MOSFETs, this is the little piece of electronics that takes a signal, takes your input current, and then when it gets that signal that says, hey, turn on the bed, it's time to heat up, it then sends it over to the bed. So this is basically a glorified electronic switch. So what I had to do, thanks to the fine folks at Lurge, which I've talked about here on the channel in other regards, I had a really nice MOSFET, and so I had this Lurge MOSFET. That's what you'll see in here now, and that Lurge MOSFET is doing fantastic. I've already tested it several times. It will provide more than enough current to this build plate, and so that is what is in there now. I'm going to be using that for this print. Should provide more than enough current for the whole thing. I'm not too worried about that. It's got a nice heat sink on it, so I don't think it'll overheat. And in the meantime, I will be contacting Comgrow for a new one of these little boards, because if you notice the way I've got this in here, it's not a long-term solution. I've just got one screw holding it in place. It'll be fine for a few days of printing, but I wouldn't want it that way long-term. How do I want to print this? Well, number one, as I mentioned, this is about 50% scale. I don't know what the scale is when I'm done with this, but my goal is to print this at 495 by 495, just leaving a little bit of buffer on here for, you know, just a little bit of the side of that build plate. And so I'm going to print this. It's going to be a very large pumpkin right here is what I'm going for. To do that in a reasonable amount of time, to make it strong, I am going to be employing the 0.8 millimeter nozzle that it comes with. And I think that's going to be perfect for this because it is going to be a ginormous print. I think it's going to be fantastic. Now, the first thing I have to do though is I've got to switch out that nozzle, which it comes with everything I need. So where did I put it? Is it on here? No, oh, here it is. So this is the 0.8 millimeter nozzle. This is the tool it comes with. You heat it up, you switch it out. It should be pretty easy to do. Then I'm going to do a couple of test prints. I want to make sure that, number one, it's printing well, so I'll print a test cube. I want to make sure that the extrusion is nice and clean and coming out at the right diameter. So I'm going to do a vase mode print, do some testing, make sure that my flow percentage is correct. Then I believe I'll be ready to go. After, again, just a couple of test prints, make sure I'm happy with the quality with that 0.8 millimeter nozzle, because sometimes when you print at 0.8 millimeter, you can run into some oozing and some other issues. So make sure that you have your settings right. I'll make sure that when I publish this video, I also release my profile in case anyone needs that 0.8 millimeter profile for this printer. Let's talk about filament real quick. So I went out, I needed some good pumpkin filament. Sunlu is a brand that has reached out to me in the past, but I really wanted to test out their filament. And so I bought these myself. I went on Amazon. I wanted a good pumpkin orange color. And so I went, is this Pro or anything? This is PLA Plus. I thought it was a fantastic bright orange, particularly when I want trick-or-treaters to be able to see this. And so I really am happy. The spool looks really nice. I've got 2 spools of this. I've got 2 kilograms because I wasn't sure how much it would take to print a pumpkin this large. So I've got 2 kilograms of Sunlu PLA, and it's about time to get started and stop talking here. You're going to see here, I'm actually going to print it in 2 halves. This model does come in several different ways from Galactic Armory. It comes in the top half and the bottom half. You can print the entire piece if you want to, which I really did kind of want to do because it would be amazing looking seeing a giant pumpkin here. But from a 3D printing perspective, that is not ideal. And it's because you're going to end up with some nasty overhangs here on the bottom. Sure, you won't be able to see it, but it's just, I mean, if you're going to take the time to print something, particularly as a display piece, let's do it right. So I'm going to take their advice. I'm going to print it just like I did with the sample one here. And this is going to print in several pieces. I'm going to print the top half of the pumpkin, the bottom half of the pumpkin, the base of the pumpkin, and then the lid and the stem are going to be 2 other pieces. The large chunk of this printing is just going to be the 2 halves, and then the rest of it will go pretty quick. I did a little preliminary slicing with the 0.8 millimeter nozzle, going at about 200 millimeters per second maximum. I did find out this is about just over a day per half of the pumpkin. I'm running out of time here. It is like the end of October already, and I really hope I have time to print this, assemble it, and get you the video before I'm done here, and take a look at what I have, and then figure out how I'm going to light this pumpkin, because it's really cool when you light it up. I'll see you in a little bit. All right, it is about 1:30 in the morning and this half of the pumpkin is finally done. It looks actually fantastic. It is ginormous for one thing, and it feels like a giant pumpkin. If you hug it, it feels like a pumpkin here. I'm really happy how this turned out, but unfortunately, it does have a lot of stringing. It's something that I deal with whenever I try to deal with like a 0.8 millimeter nozzle, and so I'm kind of used to it. I don't like printing with the larger nozzles all the time, particularly if there's a lot of moves. If you can keep it within the model, it's okay. Maybe I can fix this a little bit with the retraction settings, but this is what it is at this point. So at this point, I need to get this off the print bed because it's going to take a lot of cleanup to get done, and we're only like 48 hours from Halloween here.
and I do need to try to print the other half of this and see if I can get it done. I don't know if I'm going to get done before Halloween this time. Just running out of time here. So let's get this off this build plate without further ado. There we go. With this giant, there we go. You can see all the stringing in it. That's what I'm going to have to clean up. The string on the inside wouldn't bother me nearly as much if I didn't have all the string on the outside. So that's something I'm going to have to work on. If it's the filament, it's the temperature. Again, I had to put together these settings very quickly, and they're not ideal. So let's get this off of here. Comes off the build plate easy enough if it's big. This is about 1.5 kilograms in terms of how heavy it is. It is a big boy, but it is done. Go ahead and start on this while I start on this next print. I do have a lot of supports here on the bottom that need removing. I hope those come off relatively easy, but this is a lot of filament. And then of course, this is actually not too hard to pull off at all. Since it's just a big round bowl, it's pretty easy to come in here. I'll just do it with my hand first just to clean it up real easily. Then just come in with some sandpaper and get rid of the inside. And then on the outside, I'll figure out what works best. It may work best with heat gun. Not 100% sure, but we'll figure that out. But so far, T500 is working just fine. I do think this would be a lot cleaner without the 8mm nozzle. If I even went to the 0.6, this would be a lot cleaner. So I'll play with that in the future, but let's do the second half. All right, here's where we are, boys and girls. We have the top half of the pumpkin going down here. The bottom half has already been finished. It's down there. But I knew I wasn't going to make Halloween at all if I didn't get some other printers involved in this endeavor, because this has apparently 11 hours left on it. So this will be done maybe midday, which means that there would be no time to really finish anything else. So I went ahead and employed my CR6 Max over here, and this is printing the bottom of the pumpkin, but I'm really happy with how that's going down. And the stem I've got on my Ender 5 going down right here. It's pretty big on this printer, but that should be the proper size, 180% on this machine. And the final piece, the top, is going down on my Ender 5 Plus right here, and I just started it. I don't know which one of these prints is ultimately going to be the long pole. It could be this one, it could be the bottom. I really don't know at this point. But I do know I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 printers going at this point with all of the different pieces, and my goal is just to get it done on Halloween. I don't know what the chances of that happening are. Or whether this video will make it out on Halloween. But I had a mission. The mission is going. I don't know if you can see me here. I'm just pointing it at my face. So, Kris Fabrications, trying to finish this up. We'll see how it goes. I've got like 4 printers going. I got to get close. All right, folks, it is all done. As you can see right behind me, the top half is done. Let's go around the garage, get all the different pieces, and we'll be ready to assemble this giant Death Star pumpkin. And good thing, too, because it's about 7 p.m. on Halloween evening, so we need to get us out on the porch. All right, first thing first, and probably the one I am most fearful about, is this one on this bed. Number one, I printed it probably too fast for this printer, and it was a little soft around the edges, so I'm going to have to be very careful getting this off the print bed. But I did use a release agent, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Yay! It is in one piece. The bottom Doesn't really matter, it's the bottom, but I can also clean it up a little bit. It is a little thin. I went a little thin on the layers. I could have gone thicker, but it is just the bottom. I think it's just fine, so let's give this a shot.
All right, let's do this. This one should come off now. Yeah, it comes right off, a little release agent, and with a big enough print to actually do. So this one, just like the last one, has pumpkin guts in it, which I'm not too worried about, and should be able to get off some of these supports on this one. Should come off pretty easily. Anyway, let me clean this up real quick and we'll do some assembly. All right, that one's cleaned up. The top should go on, and there is a right way. If you move it around enough, you can find it. There it is. There's the right way. Let's see if my stem fits, and then I can glue that on. It's looking like a pumpkin. Let's grab the bottom. All right, I finally have all the supports off of this, and this was a major undertaking. When printing with a 0.8 millimeter nozzle, I will tell you right now that there's no good way to do supports. I'm sure there will be some people in the comments that can give me some fantastic hints, and I'm looking forward to those. I'll just say in general, it's a pain in the butt, particularly with these consistent overhangs like this. That are these 90-degree overhangs. They're just a pain, and you generally get a nice cut on your hand in the process for your troubles. But anyway, I was real happy. It did come out overall really well. And it's time to put this thing together, but I found out a nice little thing. As I'm doing this, let me explain. So first of all, I put this on the base here, and this is just supposed to be glued together. And I find out this is a little smaller than I expected it to be. It doesn't really fit the base the way that it's supposed to. Then I come in here and I grab this piece. Let's see how it goes. And I put it on here. And it fits on a little loose. And so the scale is definitely off a little bit. And I'm going, how could I have done this? And I'm reminded that when I sliced this bottom half, I actually scaled it to 495 millimeters in one direction. And what that means is I did not have an accurate percentage that I actually scaled it. It means that its scale was 179 point yada yada percent. Not normally a big deal, but when you've scaled something up so large, such a small percentage can have a major difference in size. Everything else after that, I'm going to scale it to 180 because it's round and it's going to make everything the right size. And it worked. All of this is scaled properly. The lid fits well. The stem fits well. All this could be glued together now, although I won't be gluing the top on. But the bottom, it's 0.5% off, and it makes a difference. So after all of this, I am going to need to reprint that base eventually. It doesn't have to be right now though, because it's Halloween and this needs to go on my front porch. So what I'm going to do, and what you're going to see right here, is I'm not actually going to do all the gluing. I could glue the stem on, not a big deal. I'm going to leave that where it is. But I'm just not going to glue it together tonight, and I'm going to fix it later. You see what this looks like. The Death Star pumpkin is massive. And the printer did a fantastic job printing it. Now, I will tell you, there are some holes here. It's not perfect. It honestly works really well for a pumpkin because a pumpkin is organic. But the surface finish is not the best thing I've ever seen on a printer. Now, accuracy-wise, it's very accurate. It's a very smooth surface, but I will say that there are some extrusion issues that are going to have to be worked through. The 0.8 millimeter nozzle, the direct drive extruder, trying to go fast while printing this, keeping that flow rate up. There's definitely some artifacts here that I'll want to clean up in the future versions of this and other prints that I'm going to be working on. And like I said, I'm going to give you access in the description to my latest slicer settings so that you can work with me on those. But overall, I'm happy with this. This is a fantastic Halloween decoration. I'm going to reprint that base so that it's the right size and fit it together. I'm going to keep playing with those support settings. I'm going to leave my spooky spider webs all over here for tonight. Last thing, I do need to light it up though. So I've got this camping lantern, which is just ridiculously bright and I don't like to look directly at. And I'm going to put this directly in this pumpkin and take a look at it. So let's do this. I'm going to take the lid off, and then I'm going to stick this down inside, lifting it up, popping that down in there. You can already see it glow. And with that, let's put the top on and check that out. This thing is absolutely amazing. You see that Death Star eye. You really can't see a whole lot of infill. I did a gyroid infill on here because I really thought that it would look good, not show too much of it because of the shapes. You can see a little bit of that gyroid infill in person, particularly in the laser section of the Death Star. But other than that, that's about it. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. It looks pretty amazing. And I'm really happy that I built this Halloween. I'm going to leave you right here, guys. Thank you so much for sticking it out all the way to the end. Thank you to Comgrow for the printer. I'm going to keep working with this. Overall, the printer needs a little bit of work. They're working through some of their issues. They did send me some instructions on how to fix that MOSFET, and I've done that, and the MOSFET has been replaced and is working fantastic since I've replaced it. But otherwise, you know, like I said, it needs some tuning, it needs some tweaking. This is a different kind of monster here. But again, thanks Comgrow. If you're looking for a large printer, I think that this is one of the best deals you're gonna find in this size class. As we've seen, hey, R2 builders, it'll definitely print an R2 dome. I'll see you next time, guys. Take care, be safe out there, and happy holidays, starting with this Halloween.